All right. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the HHC podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Moreno, and I'm here with my brother, Chris. Chris, how you doing?
Good morning, Jake. I'm doing pretty good. It's pretty another gloomy day, so I'm in full
Yeah.
on Thanksgiving break mode right now. At least I have been for the past 2 days.
Yeah, no, it's been freezing over here in Lubbock. And my shout out to my Red Raiders. They went out to Iowa State and it's even colder over there. Man, it's just like too much. Too much. But we come here, we get on here, we come talk about the San Antonio Spurs, and we go live to y'all on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. All of which you'll be able to catch us live at 10 a.m. But if you do not catch us live, you'll be able to hit us up on the VODs right after. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we do talk about Spurs basketball on the near daily through the basketball games, and we love having the engagement while Twitter is still alive, at least.
Yeah. Speaking of, I'm gonna throw the Twitch stream on the Twitter right now.
There you go. Right. Um, while he's doing that, our basketball team is on a 4-game losing streak through the week. After being able to beat Giannis-less Bucks team, we've been a little I'd say just running through a nice rough patch, right?
9
Uh,
out of our last 10.
out of our last 10 have been losses. So,
Hmm.
uh, you know, it's been a lot of growing pains to say the least. But before we do get into our full conversations, we got to do what we always do, and that is Jake's weekly trivia challenge. So every week I come on here, I bring us some Spurs trivia, some Spurs stats, and I hope to see that my brothers can get these questions right.
Let's see.
Um,
Let's see if Juan and Josh are gonna be throwing their stuff in the comments.
yeah.
Have
So if y'all are in the comments, Juan and Josh, go ahead and throw your answers out there when I ask them, and I'll put them up, and be counted towards the score, right? But getting right into our first question, you know, uh, the San Antonio Spurs have been doing a little docu-series called The Ring of the Row, and that is the first episode was really cool, talking about the what was it? Talking about the championship year of the Spurs,
the
and then
1999,
yeah,
yes.
and then the second episode we threw it back a little bit more, talked about the origins of the Spurs and George Gervin and Mr. Silas and how all of that stuff was coming up. But this last episode was talking about the Alamo Dome. So I obviously had to bring a question about, pretty much to me, the face of the Alamo Dome, the guy who represented what it was to be there. And that was the David Robinson. Now we all know that David was pretty killer back in the day. We know that guy was just one of the best big men in the league, getting MVPs, getting depoys. He was killer. But there was one year that David got the scoring title. I want you guys to give me the year that David Robinson won the scoring title. For reference, it is before 1995, but after 1990. So you get that little portion of years, right? So yeah, before 1995 and after 1990.
You got to just let us burn on some of these ones and just don't give us no years.
Don't give you a timeline, right? Something to work off of.
You said
Um,
1995
yeah,
was the
before
window?
before yeah, 1990 to 1995. Um, the only other Spur that has gotten scoring titles, as was the Iceman, George Gervin. George did it 4 times, and his highest career points was 33.1. So
Nice. What
George
year was
George was
that?
pretty killer too. Let me see if I can pull it. Excuse me. Let me see if I can pull it up again. It was like 3 years straight. Then I think George Mikan got one year, um, and then what's it called? George Iceman got it back right after. But while I am looking that up, the answer to that question, or Chris, what was your answer?
93.
93. Right. So Chris goes with 1993. Juan goes with 1993. Or let me put these up real quick. Juan goes with 1993. And Josh goes with 94. The answer to that question was indeed 1994. So Josh gets that point right there. Josh knew what it was. That was the year that David got his 71. The year that what's it? Did he get? I'm trying to remember what year David got the quad double, but I'm pretty sure it was I want to say it was that year. Might have been. I might be a little bit off. But yeah. So David did get that scoring title.
You don't got to look up the George Gervin.
Yeah, I couldn't find that George Gervin the George Gervin stat line. So, but either way, extra point right here. And Chris, you know what? I will make this pretty broad, but how many points did David score that year per average? Per average, what was David's scoring average in order to get the scoring title that year? And once again, George Gervin at his highest was at 33.1. Now I finally found the actual list that I was looking at earlier. So George Gervin had it from 1977, 1978, 1979, and then it was Adrian Dantley who got it in 81, and then George took it right back in 82. So, nice. In those seasons, though, George had 27.2, 29.6, 33.1, and then 32.3. But all right, Chris, you have your answer. Try to give Juan a second here.
Mine's locked in.
All right, well, Chris, I'll go ahead and let you show up your answer then. How many points do you think David had?
29.8.
29.8. Okay. So Josh puts up 34. Juan misses the buzzer here. He doesn't get to answer.
Oh, I did see his number coming right now.
Oh, there it is. Okay, 33. Well, the answer, these guys were a little too high on David in his scoring because it was 29.8 points.
It was 29.8 on the money?
It was 29.8 on the money. Chris,
I was guessing. I'll be honest. I was guessing.
But still, man, getting the exact number. If you would have just put 29, I would have given it to you. But man, 29.8.
And you know, last week, me and Juan were getting really close, and I was just going off of vibes a little bit too.
That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome. So yeah, Chris got that one. Josh got that other point, and that was our little throwback question, right? But got to talk about our current Spurs right now, and currently. We have a guy that's been killing it in the paint as well. And his name is Jakob. Jakob has been terrific from everywhere technically. He just doesn't shoot threes, right? So I want to know what you guys think Jakob's field goal percentage is this year. I will say he has the Spurs' highest field goal percentage that is not named Blake Wesley, because Blake Wesley's only played 2 games, so that's pretty much been the whole story with that. But Jakob is pretty much leading our team in field goal percentage. Just after that is Charles Bassey, Keita Bates follows him, and then Zach Collins thereafter. So, all of our big men shooting pretty good clips or percentages, right?
Do you want us to go into decimals or no?
Nah, you don't have to go into decimals.
All right, I'm locked in.
All right, Chris, what is your answer?
58.
58%. Josh goes into 54, and Juan on the dot. 64% from the field. Yeah, Jakob's 64.2%. So Juan gets that point right there. All three of y'all got a point so far. That's really good. Like I was saying before, Charles Bassey's like right behind him at 60.6. Kata Bates at 53.1, and Zach Collins at 52.5. So, y'all were getting like the people just behind him, but you know, Jakob's been scoring pretty well with, as of recently. So,
I wanted to go. I wanted to go into the 60s, but I didn't want to be. I didn't want to oversell.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that. But you know, Jakob's been shooting pretty efficiently. So it's been nice. It's been nice to see that at least. Well, we see Jakob not shooting. Oh yeah. All right. There you go, Juan. He said he's locked in with Yak, so he knows. He knows. There you go, Juan. But yeah, we know that Jakob's not a 3-point shooter, but we do have plenty of 3-point shooters on our team. How many Spurs players are shooting 40% from 3? So, yeah, how many Spurs players are shooting 40% from 3? Just outside of 3, we have Trey Jones having 38.9 and Zach Collins having 38.9. So they don't add to this list, but those guys are right outside of the list, which is super nice to see. Both on 2 attempts per game. Trey on 2.3, Collins on 2 exactly. So that's pretty good to see that we're having them shooting the ball more. I guess I need to preference this question as well by saying that this is how many Spurs are in the 40% club excluding Blake Wesley? Because again, Blake Wesley's only played 2 games and he's shooting 66.7% from 3. So, yeah. But Chris, what is your answer? You do have your mic muted right now, but yeah. So he does have 3 on his. On his
I was
board,
just saying. I was just saying. I have no idea. I wrote 3, but I don't. That was a guess.
Okay. All right. So Chris goes with 3. Josh goes with 3. Juan goes with 3. And it is indeed 3 players in 40% 3-point range. Those 3 players are Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott, and Devin Vassell. Like I said, Blake Wesley's technically in that club right now, but he's only played 2 games, so we're not counting his stats right now. He's the outlier. But
yeah, I couldn't figure. I mean, I couldn't determine if I wanted to feel like it was going to be Devin or Keldon, and then 2 role players, or both of those guys and 1 role player. That's kind of like where my brain was split.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean it's cool that we're seeing our two guys, especially on 7.5 attempts from Devin and 8.5 attempts from Keldon, and both still shooting 40% from 3. You love to see something like that. That's exactly what's gonna take you to some wins in the near future.
And they've had some games where they didn't shoot particularly well, so that means there's, on the flip side of that, there's been even games where they shine even bright, you know.
Mm-hmm. But you know, kind of does bring us into how the Spurs have been within these this last week, and you know, you kind of start to see it, like Chris was saying, you know, when Devin's not shooting well, when Keldon's not shooting well, it's really tough to see us trying to fight to win games by that point, because you really need everybody on the whole team to be on it on that night in order for us to be competitive. And so, Chris, I know you wanted to pretty much talk about how when we have DMPs, it just makes it that much harder, right? And so what's your take with that?
Yeah, I mean, just exactly what you said. It's I think Keldon even had said it too before, like last week. Like, we play our best when we play for each other and we play with each other. And you know, there's just been too many times this year where we're missing one guy here, one guy over there, and it's just so inconsistent too. So it just makes sense that we are as consistent or as inconsistent as our lineups have been. You know what I mean? And the part that's like, I guess, like the most frustrating is like we do feel a little incomplete. We nobody could have foreseen the on our end. Nobody could have foreseen the Josh Primo stuff coming. So from a roster standpoint, it just changed the complexion of the team. You know what I'm saying? So we're just in that gray area right now. It's a little bit weird. I mean, I know everybody's been talking about Point Sohan, and that's been interesting to watch for sure. But I don't know. My brain is still split on the like, well, can we just maybe find a way to plug that hole just for now, temporarily? You know what I mean? So that we can function a little bit better. That's just
Yeah,
that's just where that's just kind of where I'm at with the year.
I agree, man. I would like to see us try to pick somebody up. Honestly, I mean, I don't know how good he was or anything like that, but like you got to assume that there's got to be like some like second round draft picks, some young players that aren't on their teams anymore. The name that I think of is that Jared Butler guy. He was on the Utah Jazz, but he went to Baylor. The year that they won, the year that they won their championship and stuff, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, like not even 23 at this point. And so let's see.
Are
Let me
you
look
are
up
you
Jared
looking at
Butler.
a free agent list?
Yeah, I was looking at a free agent list like the other day, just to kind of think about like
Yeah.
what we could do to fill in that role, and
Oh, it's not
getting
letting me go to it.
somebody at an age like that, Jared Butler, 22 years old, and that's just one name. There's plenty of other guards that you could look at that honestly are younger that you could try to like just take a chance on and hope that something could help out that second unit, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and you would know like a little bit more about some of these younger players that could, because I wouldn't mind doing that either. And I'll be honest, my head goes the other way, right? My head is like, well, we're already relying a little bit on guys like Jay Rich and Doug and all that, and we know that kind of stuff is temporary anyway. It's like, what if there's a point guard or a guard out there who's been in the league a little bit, who can just, the same way that they kind of credit a guy like Bassi, like he hasn't been with us long, but he's able to catch up because he's playing very smart, and he has the right mindset and all that kind of stuff. Well, I just, you can probably get that with a proven guy too. You know what I mean? And it's not gonna, okay, fine, yeah, we're putting money into another vet, but it's just, again, to stable the ship a little bit, and he doesn't have to be permanent either. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
So
Even to me, even a guy like Chris Dunn, I would like. I feel like there were times throughout the years that I would have liked to have a guy like Chris Dunn just because of his defensive mindset, and who knows, maybe we could like get him to find a suitable role through the year just because he'll actually be in the system, um, and
yeah.
maybe it doesn't work out and you only had him for the year on a minimum. We're already gonna lose anyway. So
and
it's
and,
like
and, and really, and again, this is just to steady the ship until like Wesley comes back. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because he's the guy that you're gonna really want to throw into and have him develop and all that kind of stuff. And then
exactly.
if we're still a train wreck, but with him on the court, now you take that and you feel better about it, because you're trying to be the like I said again, the complete version of yourself as best as you can. So like, I don't know, like, and otherwise. I've honestly been pretty down in a good way with just like the way that Pop and everybody's been kind of running the game to game stuff. Like I like when they take timeouts. I feel like they're prioritizing like learning the right things out on the court. Just from what I can see, you know what I mean? Who knows? But so I'm down with a lot of that kind of stuff too, even through all of this rough patch. It's just, it does feel like right now, when it comes to acquiring anybody, there's zero interest from our team of like doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like we're
hmm
just trying to do what we can with the people we got.
Which, and I mean, it doesn't hurt that we have that mindset because of the position that we're in.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But I was telling Juan the other day, like, it's not even like I'm trying to make winning moves, right? It's not even that, because at the end of the day, you're not going to win the race, probably the ultimate race, right? So, but my thing was like, right now it's like our car only has 3 wheels, and I'm just saying, like, can we at least just get a fourth wheel? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then let's keep on doing our thing.
No, I agree. I agree. I do agree on that sense. Just because they like it has been just a little bit more painful to watch these games when you know that once Trey Jones is out there or when he's not out there, then oh no, what are we gonna do? You know, what's our
And
where's the
what's funny?
brain?
You know what's funny is like this. It's kind of the similar. It's kind of the similar, like, not anxiety because I don't care about it that deeply, but like when you're watching NFL games and like they have a backup quarterback, people like view backup quarterbacks so differently, right? Like there's this huge gap between a starting quarterback and a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're out there with the backup, like every play just feels like, oh God, all right, come on. All right, come on, let's just get through this one. But it's like every
Mm.
play. At least that's how I feel when I'm watching an NFL game that's like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, even college games too, man. Just because, right? Like I was watching the UCLA USC game yesterday night, and there was like at one point the starting quarterback for UCLA got hurt, and so that they had to like throw in the backup quarterback for like 2 plays, and they were like right there at the in red zone and everything, and it's like you're like not even I'm not even a fan of them, but you're just tensing up. You're like, oh, like is he gonna prove it right here that he's that guy, or what's their plan now that this guy, the starting quarterback's hurt for like the little bit
Yeah,
that he
well, yeah,
was.
you just feel the pressure of the team that is losing, right? Or that is
Yeah.
down that man. And so like me actually having investment into these games, that's kind of how it makes me feel. I'm like, you just sitting there and waiting to take the lumps, you know what I mean? Like, cuz it's kind of
Hmm.
coming, or you know what I mean? Like, so it
Yeah,
is what it is.
you did.
You're there to take your lumps with the young guys every game you can, but that's just where we're at.
Yeah, no, but you did mention like the point Sohan stuff, and you said like it was interesting for me. I've enjoyed it just because I kind of like. I mean, when he came out of the draft, I started to see that he was like, like he had like the at least just the facilitating type of mentality.
Mhm.
So for me, it was like, oh wow, like he really does have like this somewhat of a point forward mentality, and I didn't think that we would have seen it, but the fact that we are seeing it, I'm
I
I'm
mean,
happy with it.
it
Like it's
definitely has given him a different role than what we had said earlier, right? Where it was like, let's just let him be the guy who gets everything else. But now he's had to do more of the primary stuff, right? So, I mean, it's cool. They got to give the reps to somebody, and so to have him already kind of starting to find success with like his hooks, running kind of at people and taking those hooks. He I think he got blocked maybe like once or twice this past game trying to do it like on Zubac and stuff, but or even just like some of his post moves and how he's like just getting good looks off of like one drop step. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff, it has been like bonus progression for him so far, right?
hmm
So nah,
and then
it's been cool.
even that sneaky athleticism, man. Like you look at his build, you look at his body, and you don't really think that he's like gonna like get really up there and stuff like that. But then you see that play against Sabonis, and you're just like, oh my goodness, like
It kind of looked
he's
better. It kind of looked better, in my opinion, from that baseline. Like watching him do it from like
yeah,
where you
no.
see where you can get to see the spin and like all that. Yeah, it was great play.
Exactly, man. And so plays like that from Sohan, like it just makes you want to buy into his stock even more because it's just like how versatile he can be. And we're already seeing like the thing that I'm loving is just the fact that Pop's throwing him into the fire every night, playing whoever, because
The defensive part of it has
yes,
been
yes,
has been man, like that's been the thing to watch this year,
because
is who's he going to be guarding next. He just gets to be the revolving door.
exactly,
Yeah,
because
it's
it's
it's been great.
it's Jamal Murray one night, and then it's Paul George the next night, and then it's you're getting guards, you're getting forwards. We're gladly, I think we're not having to see him play against really really big men, but even then he was holding his own against Cat,
You
and
you you know
and
you know it's interesting because like Keldon, we threw him in and he was able to really test himself against bigger players, right? And then with him, we're leaning it more towards, okay, yeah, guard your position, but then you're gonna go out there and guard Jean Morant and like whoever the best Steph Curry run around with him a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's you can you can hope that the same way that Keldon's been able to keep that mentality, and now that we've put him in more of his natural position, he's already tested himself against bigger. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's you just hope that we're able to take these, or we probably will, but taking these lessons as we finally become more complete in next year, the year after.
Exactly, and that's like it just makes it even more exciting that you have a guy like Sohan. Because for me, I feel like he's like a smaller version of what I've said on this podcast from day one of what I've wanted, and that was like a Bam type of player, a guy who's that versatile on defense, and so we just got that guy,
And
but in
his
like the fourth spot rather than the five spot, and I
and
love it.
you mentioned his build, like his ability to pass, right, has been shown pretty well, like on like these cross courts and stuff like that, and or not to compare it to like a LeBron, but the way like a LeBron would just kind of be able to, because he's very upper body, right, he just like shoot a ball over like with one push of his arm or something like that. And right now I don't think Sohan's there just yet, but you can kind of see like he can see those angles, and so he's making things happen out there. Like it's been great to watch. Like I said, I think so far, aside from the continued KJ, and you're watching Keldon and Devin every night too, right? Because those are our guys. But Sohan, from another point of view, has just been like the thing to watch over this past, especially during the losses.
For sure, for sure. Um, and the other thing through the week that I really wanted to talk about, just because I brought up his field goal percentage and everything, it's Yak's offense, because we saw him drop a 30 piece, we saw him drop 20 points like right after that, and you just love to see that kind of stuff from him.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
uh,
I have a little concern, just because like last year, especially, and I would have to think about the year before, but there were games where it felt like our opponent, like they were content and they were almost even game planning to have our offense run through Yak. And so and it's as to limit the other people, right? DeJounte and even like DeMar. Um and so I have a little bit of weariness, like in a game like the where he scores 30 or is it 29, right? You said he almost goes for 30. Um
no, he goes for 30. He does go for
okay.
30.
In a game like that, like we end up losing that game, right? And again, it's like, is it one of those games where he was outshining, or is it a game where they were kind of letting that happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get what you mean, but at the same time, at least in the Trailblazers game that he scored 31, we do get 21 from Devin. We do get 20 points from Keldon,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and a little less from the rest of our bench.
And
But
now though, like now we need a game like that, because we do need somebody not named Keldon and not named Devin to step up. So if it's gonna be Yak, on a weekly basis, I would take 20 plus from Yak, every day of the week. So I'm not complaining.
mhm,
I promise I'm not complaining. And you know what set him off really well was, I think they came out kind of flat, right? And we came out with a lot of energy and we were hitting our shots. And then Chauncey took out Nurkic and maybe one other player, or maybe like two other players, and kind of went with a couple younger guys, right? Um, and that means Eubanks came in a little bit earlier, and I don't think that he got a chance to like be the spark off the bench, because he had to come in a little bit earlier, right? And then Yak's going to fare well against a guy like Eubanks. So I don't know. I think it was just the perfect storm, like from the beginning. Once they had that early sub, we were just in a good position to kind of take advantage of that. It kind of bit us, I think, towards the end a little bit. We get Jakob reaching on Eubanks and getting him that and one. That to me was like almost as egregious as the Keldon Johnson turnovers.
yeah, no, I think like you're saying, we do kind of have to bring up some of like in a sense the growing pains and stuff like that that's just been happening, right? Because you
Mm.
can't talk about all the positives when you're losing games. So there's definitely some things to be desired. For me, maybe he just needs more help. Maybe we have to be better defensively overall. But for me, watching that Kings game, I was disappointed in Yak. I was super disappointed in how Yak played defensively in the clutch because it was ugly. It was just like he was letting De'Aaron Fox do whatever he wanted before he would take like a shot in front of his face. Um, Sabonis was I mean, I feel like maybe it's rotations. Maybe Yak isn't the person that has to jump out there on a Sabonis three and stuff like that, right? But there's still times where I was just like, yo, like, what is this little take foul that you're doing, Yak? We're in the clutch. You know, either you need to foul him, and don't let him get the and one, or you let him get an actual contest rather than these little take fouls and then trying to talk to the refs that you didn't foul him.
Yeah,
And so
that's exactly what happened in the Portland game. It was the uh we gave the ball down to Kata Bates, and he tries to do a post up on Dame. Dame gets a block. That block turns into this big crowd moment. Jakob does this reach foul on Eubanks, which is the same thing what you just said. Either you foul him, or just stand there with your hands up. And if he gets a layup around you, fine. You know what I'm saying? Live with that. And instead, he gets the N1. The crowd gets even more hype. That empowers Dame to take that 40 foot or 30 plus foot 3-pointer that gets the crowd, you know what I mean? And it was just and that's not even talking about Keldon Johnson turning the ball over 3 times in the last 3 minutes or whatever it was.
exactly. So it's like, like there's definitely some stuff to be desired, and for me this week really showed me just saying like, all right, this wasn't the prettiest defensive week for Yak. But what can we do to fix it? Because we know Jakob is a good defender. I think all of us try to support that agenda that he is pretty much top 2 defensive centers in the league. And so I feel like he is one of that, like, of that caliber of a player. But
Yeah.
at least this last week didn't show that to me, and I was just like, what happened here? Was it the fact that he was on the offense, like, scoring a lot? In the Kings game, he wasn't scoring, so to me it was like, well, you don't really have an excuse. But is it day-to-day fatigue, right? Like, is it just the fact that he is the guy that we're relying on so much that he's already starting to get that little wear and tear right now?
Yeah, I mean he is the center position right now. You know what I mean? So there's ways to be sympathetic towards it and all that kind of stuff too. But it also is like what you said. We do value him pretty high, so you got to have high standards as well.
Exactly. And so that's like, I think that's like my biggest thing coming into the week. Just because, yeah, like I feel like Jakob definitely could have, even though he was scoring a lot, I feel like the defense was very much lacking. And when your best defensive player is lacking and you're already one of the worst defensive teams in the league, what's that? It's just going to equate to even more of a deficit at that point, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like there's really not too much to talk about when it comes to the week, other than some of the pretty much just like the Yak stuff, the Jeremy stuff, like you were talking about with the DMPs earlier. But I think the other thing that has been coming out that we've been I've been enjoying a lot of it. I don't know about you, Chris, but it's been that the Ring of the Row, and
yeah, the Ring of the Row.
We were talking about it just a little while ago. That first episode, 99 Championship. The second episode was Iceman and the origin story. And then this third episode was the Dome. And I haven't been able to catch the Alamo Dome episode just yet. But, man, those first 2 episodes, they've been killer. I've been loving them. How about you?
So you just said that there was one about George Gervin. Is that what you said?
It was about, like, the origins of the Spurs.
Oh,
and so, like, George
okay.
and Silas.
Okay. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes. Sorry, it kind of threw me off right there. I've seen all 3 then. Yeah, because the first one is the 99. Second one is more so about like Red McCombs acquiring the team, moving it from Dallas over here. And then the third one was the Alamo Dome, like you just said. So far, yeah. I've enjoyed all 3. I mean, which ones have you seen? You said the first 2.
Yeah, just the first 2 so far.
So like that 99 one is fun because like I definitely remember as a man in his 30s now. I remember like being at my dad's house, like watching the game, like, or like families all there. It's a big event. uh as far as I remember, I had one aunt who was like just rooting for the Knicks. I think she was just like trying to be whatever. But so like that's how long ago it was. I was just a little kid, you know what I mean? So but I do remember parts of it. Like they talked about, they like on the Alamo Dome when they talk about the $2 tickets, the $5 tickets that you buy at HEB. Like you'd go and be checking out your groceries, and then they would be like, hey, you want to spin the wheel? You like spin this wheel, it's like, hey, you want 2 tickets to the Spurs game? You're like, yeah, sweet, cool. You know what I mean? Like and that is kind of how it felt back in the day, even as a kid, of just like you could just be on a regular day and then be like, oh, hey, we're gonna go to the game now. Yes, heck yeah. And you go, so it was cool. It was cool to see those kind of memories. And then I didn't pay attention back in the day, and to see the All-Star game and all that kind of stuff. So but still, man, I've loved these highlights so far. You being somebody who's like completely removed from all that kind of stuff, like I don't know, like what how are you feeling about it?
Man, it gets me emotional in the sense of like this is like the history of the team that I support, like I obviously the only championship year that I got to enjoy was 2014. Even if I was like alive during 05, I guess I was only like 2 years old by that point, but then I was 4 during 07, and I don't remember a single thing about it. So like it's not like I really like got to experience and enjoy that stuff, but 2014 was the only year that I got to enjoy. And then 1999, I wasn't even born, so I like, it's you only get so much of like these great feelings of what you're watching, but you get to like at least embrace the ideas of just like, man, this is like what the culture was back then,
And I
and
would
they
also
hold
say
it
like
strong still.
like you get to see like Sean Elliott, who you hear a lot, and you get to see him a lot. So you have a one way that you view him as the guy who does the voiceover, or, all the commentary and all that, and that he's a player, obviously. But then when you get to see it more closely, and him kind of just sitting and talking about specific games or specific moments, um, those are the things that where you feel like now you get a chance to learn about him in a different way, right? So,
And yeah, this season for sure. Yeah, I think you're bringing up a wonderful point that this season for sure. It's like I already, like, in a sense, I already knew that Sean was that dude. I knew that Sean
yeah, yeah,
was like, he was helpful to the organization. He did a lot for us, and was definitely an impact player as to the reasons why we won through in the ways that we did, right? But I didn't get to experience it, and I didn't, and I haven't like done like a deep dive on Sean Elliott's career to know like, oh man, like Sean Elliott played with this guy, and this is like what it looked like, kind of thing, right?
yeah,
But through this season, I get to start to learning about that, because there's some of the like the players, right, or like the Spurs alumni that will like come on, and they're like, from the 99, from the 90s, that played with Sean. And anytime that those guys are talking, I'm like just listening that much more, because Sean and whoever else is on there at that time, they're just talking about those seasons,
yeah.
and it's wonderful to hear about that stuff. So then again, bringing it back to the Ring of the Row, like I love the fact that, like, for me, the biggest thing that I know with Sean is the Memorial Day Miracle, right? It's a thing I'm sure everybody knows, right?
Yeah.
But then it made me emotional, because it was like, man, like everybody really, like, this was a crazy moment, and they really emphasized the fact that it was like a crazy moment. Like, even if like nowadays Sean makes the joke that we have to play it every single time, or it's like on replay in like on like one of their cameras every single day and stuff like that.
Yeah.
um
He's got a quota to meet.
yeah, it's got like, so he's like saying like that's his one big shining moment in his career, but it's an amazing big shining moment. So
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I love it. I love it. It's wonderful to like be able to just enjoy and understand even more of the Spurs history as it is.
Yeah, yeah, and like for that's kind of how I felt a lot with the second episode, where they go all the way back to like the ABA and stuff like that, because I have no connection to those guys. So then now you get to learn, like you said, I didn't really know even the fact that the silver and black was because the one of the main investors had a big affinity for the Oakland Raiders, and it makes sense. But that's something that when I hear, I'm like, dang, okay, like, and especially like with just the idea of, they even say that they built the Alamo Dome with the hopes that an NFL team would come, and like that's always been something that they want, whatever. But it's just cool that to see that transition too from ABA to NBA. We we brought the people over, or we brought them over. We didn't know if people were going to show up, and all of a sudden, like, here comes San Antonio. People like excited to have this team here. So you could feel even back then, like the crowd and like the community was ready to accept the team way back in the day. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It just makes it feel even better. Like, yeah, we've been about the Spurs. You know what I mean? Like the city's been about the Spurs as soon as they got here, kind of. So
100%.
I've been enjoying it so far. I don't know if they have a release schedule out about like this is what each episode is going to be about. So far I've just been surprised when they come out and enjoyed every single one.
No, for sure. And I think the one thing for me is that I'm glad that I get to gloat that we really have been like some of like the biggest what's the word that I'm looking for, like we really do cause like movements. The Spurs cause movements in the NBA. And so even like just because like watching the second episode, right, the origin story, and I think it was James Silas that like talks about how like the way that like the players play today is the way that they played back then in the ABA before the NBA, before the transition to the NBA. And obviously, it's not like a direct one-to-one, like, oh, yeah, they really did play the way that, like, the players do today. But he at least made the right comparisons, the fact that they just play faster, the fact that they focused on the flashier offense, They had the three-point line before the NBA did and stuff like that, where it was like, yeah, I mean, that means that the Spurs were part of that before, the Spurs were part of that with the ABA before the NBA and all of those other teams, And then when they came into the NBA, then they just brought that to the NBA, So they became one of the first teams in the league to like start changing up the style of play, to start changing the way that the NBA ran, And so it's been since the Spurs like have started that they consistently do something different, and the NBA follows suit, And so then, like, to me, like, the biggest thing is our 2014 ball, the way that that we played our team ball, and then the Warriors just took that and then evolved with it,
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was just the evolution of play that like team ball was the way to win at that point, And so it's things like that like we really are like the people that are. We don't follow, we lead the change. We lead the stuff like that. And I love to see it. I love to see that kind of stuff. It just makes me even more proud to be a Spurs fan,
Yeah, and if they keep going, like I don't know, the order of it was kind of weird, right? Because they started with the 99 and then they went back to the old school and then they went to the dome. So it almost felt like they could have flopped the first two. Or even had the 99 been the third episode or something after the I don't
dome,
know.
Right? After the first two.
Regardless, it's if they keep moving through like the championships, right? They have a video for 03, 05, 07. I would like to see a little bit more of the downside of it. I guess like the troubles throughout the year, right? Because they talked about it. They talked about Pop on the 99 video and like how the Spurs were struggling at the beginning and the things that they were afraid of before they went on this run, right? And then after it kind of felt right. You get that feeling from the way that they portrayed it. Was like once we hit our stride, we were kind of on at that point, and it makes sense in a shortened season too. Like trend, you don't have time to have trends set and differ. Like the trend came up that the Spurs were playing good ball, and they just kept it going all the way to the end. You know what I mean? But if they keep moving 03, 05, 07, I would like to see things that are a little bit more in that vein too. Of like, man, these are the things that we. I want to say in 03 they even started pretty poor and had to kind of rally in the second half of the season. So I just want to keep seeing that kind of stuff too. That's just to keep showing that character and all that kind of stuff. But I'm ready. I'm ready for them to show all of those. I'm trying to think like what else could they show that's not just strictly the title runs. But
Well,
I'll be down for whatever.
I would like to see, like, I guess, like some of the European stuff, like just like maybe like what the Spurs had to do with like their involvement in Europe and stuff like that, like with players,
Hmm.
and how things might have gone, like just maybe like what like Tony and Manu and others, like what their experience was like.
Like the scouting process, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, something like that where it's like, because Manu's talked about it a
They're all.
couple
I'm
times.
not trying to give up my secrets. Well, now actually would be a good time because now, like you said about leading waves and all that in the NBA. Now a lot of teams do the same thing in terms of how they approach scouting people from all over the world, right? So now would be a good time to be like, yeah, this is how we did it back then, and it's not like they're exposing themselves because everybody does it.
hmm No, I feel like I'd love to see something like that. I do have a question for you, just because I do feel like you are our biggest leave number two behind type of guy, right? But we go into our 2014 title run episode, and we see that guy come into the spotlight to come talk some of the 2014 championship. How do you feel?
Like voiceover, like if they included
Like,
his like testimony, kind of like videos or whatever.
well, yeah, like because you see, we have Timmy sitting down, we have David sitting down and stuff like that. Like
But
we
you're
were able to.
saying like 2022 Kawhi is talking about 2014 Kawhi. I honestly don't,
Yes.
first of all, I don't think that it would happen. And if it does happen, fine. And it's interesting that you bring him up because we're talking about these YouTube videos. Well, there also was that big like beef history video that just came out, that beef history part 1.
hmm
Uh, and so that came out, right? And of course, everything that's in it so far in part 1 is nothing's new, right? So and not that maybe there isn't going to be anything new in part 2. It's just going to be the same old stuff that we've heard. Uh, um, and so a little bit of me right this week was like, okay, that video comes out, and you try to just be over it. It is what it is, right? Uh, um, so I didn't really give that one too much. I did watch it though, that beef history one. So then we play him just the other day, and then there's like the videos that actually came out of like them. Somebody asked him like, hey, what did you and Pop like talk about, because they like embraced each other after the game. And he like said a lot of good things about Pop, right? And how he's like one of the best coaches he had. He learned winning basketball. We've been through too many battles to have a scar in our relationship, right? And I don't know if I've ever heard him say anything like that before. Um, and then they even asked him a question about like Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili. Who would he see as a coach, right? And he said like definitely not Timmy. He said like Manu. He goes definitely Manu. He goes Timmy was a great player, was a great leader, but not. I don't think I would see him like that. He said Manu Ginobili, yes. Um, and so like same thing. It was like I don't know if I've ever seen just those two questions in the same interview felt just like like we've reached another level of like more separation from it, right? Like I don't know. It was just like, or maybe that's just how I'm seeing it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. If I don't think that would happen though, what you just said, that 2022 Kawhi talking about it. He would, to
Well,
be honest, his response would be like, "I would talk about that when I'm retired, like I'm still playing, like it would be very right down the middle, like."
yeah. No, I could see that from Kawhi, and I pretty much agree with you. But I just wanted to see if I just wanted to get a reaction, right? See what you would say to that kind of stuff.
I especially, okay, so every year I get a year older, and there's new players in the league. There's a lot more. There's every year there's more that you don't know about the league that comes in, and less that you do know, right? Because the players and all that, they just are on their way out or whatever generations, and so I'm trying my best to not be like throw a lot of negative stuff towards like players, right? Especially as like people, right? Because that's kind of the age we live in too, right? Uh, um, so I'm not trying to say that I hate on the man at all, right? It's just I'm down to just be where I'm not a supporter of him, and he's off on his own thing, doing his own thing, and I'm over here doing with this thing. So that's just kind of where it's at.
There you go. That's good, man. That's good. But yeah, if Quiet was on the thing, I don't think I'd be upset about it. I don't think I'd like throw a fit or anything like that. It would definitely because I want to hear what his mindset is in the
Yeah,
game as well.
but also like I feel like you can still get a lot of like his impact, and there still is the moments, him of getting obviously emotional when he gets his MVP trophy and they're kind of like shaking him and stuff like that, right? Like all of those moments still hit in a good way, even to me. He's as a young kid getting to the stage that he just got to, proving what he did, and his performance and all that, and being a beneficiary of the things that he brought to our team, you know what I mean, and gave us, right? So I'm not blind to any of that kind of stuff. All of that stuff still I see in a very positive way. You know what I mean? I just kind of see it as it comes. So 2014, I got no problem with 2014 Kawhi at all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a little bittersweetness to it. The same way that there will always be bittersweetness to the 2013 finals, even though we know what comes after. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's just, we live and we learn.
Well, I for one would for sure be happy to see one Matt Bonner come down and sit down and talk about his years with the Spurs, but also like maybe right, like just because I'm talking about Kawhi, right, like there's still some of the current or some of the 2014 Spurs that are still in the league right now, like Corjo and like Danny. Um, and I would
Yeah.
and Patty, don't can't forget about Patty, right? But I would love to hear what those guys, if they do have them on, I'd love to hear what they have to say about that stuff too. So
Yeah, or even if
it's
there is a if there's kind of like an episode getting to highlight all the other guys, right? And it was just like
mhm.
all the role players that have been here, right? Because if you just had a montage just of big moments from our role players, it would be a lengthy thing. You know what I'm saying? And it would be in meaningful moments along the way, of all these big seasons and championships included. So it would be cool to see. They could take this in a lot of different ways, and we're like I said at the beginning of the year, this feels like hopefully this is like one of the last years where we kind of lean into this part of our history, and we can be excited about what's coming next in our future and our present. So in the meantime, we're in the thick of it. We're losing nine nine out of 10 games. Lean into all of this stuff, and let's spread the positivity, and let it be known like what we've done, because that's what's going to give the community the energy and the strength to be next to the team when they're losing 9 out of 10 and all that kind of stuff. So, and they know that's why they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? It just happens to be coinciding with our anniversary year, which is awesome that it's lined up like that. But I'm ready for all of it. You had mentioned Matt. I'm pretty sure he did an episode of that podcast, right? There's like another podcast coming out where they've had Matt, they've had
I know they've done George, they did Brent Berry, and then I'm pretty sure I saw that there's a third episode, but I haven't been able to watch the third episodes of anything.
so you have seen like the Matt Bonner one of that other show?
No, because they did George and they did Brent Berry, the first
Oh,
two
oh, oh.
episodes.
But so did you watch either one of those?
Yes, I watched those first two, and the Brent Berry one was really really cool to hear, because he was like, again, like I'm excited because I get to learn more about these players that I've heard about, that I know a base level of, but
Yeah.
I'm learning even more about these guys, and when you talk about George, there's only going to be so much that he's going to be able to say that you don't know, because he's a big name in the Spurs franchise. You already know a lot about him.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to a guy like Brent Berry, he was a role player. He was a role player that wasn't really here for too long. He did his job, like he's somebody that can kind of come and go when you're thinking about franchises and like the impacts that players have, right? So it's wonderful to actually have something of these guys that you're like, oh dang, this was his story. This was like what he had to do and stuff like that, right? So I think like his like the thing that like took up the biggest portion was like him talking about his draft day, and how he in the 90s, you don't have your phone, and you don't have like a bunch of this stuff to like be able to see when you get drafted. If you're not at the draft, you have to watch it through TV and just find yourself getting drafted. And he was
Yeah,
like,
or like your agent is in line with these beat reporters or whatever, and they're just making phone calls to each other, and that's how that information gets passed or something.
exactly, right? And so for him, he had just did a like very like last minute workout with the Bulls, and was flying back from Illinois back to Golden State, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he literally like his plane gets delayed through the draft. So he was supposed to like get home in time for the draft, but it gets delayed through the draft, and then like he has to wait the entire day, the entire draft day, just waiting, because even like the person who picks him up says like he's not gonna like tell him until like his parents see him. So then like he literally had to wait.
They all
even,
know.
like, that
They
whole
all knew.
car. Yeah, everybody knew he got drafted and what happened and stuff, but he didn't know. And then like he's like talking about how like once he gets there, his grandma walks out in like a Boston jersey or something like that. Like his grandma walks out in a jersey, and then his brother walks out in a different jersey or shirt or whatever, you know. And they just like they're all walking out in like different NBA team shirts and stuff. And so it's like wonderful just to be like, oh wow, that's, you know, you don't think about the like the 90s draft in that general sense, and then, you know, you get a great story like that from Brent. So it's wonderful. Like, definitely go watch those podcasts and go hear out what they have to say
for
on this
sure.
stuff.
I'll have to catch up on those, and I'll try to keep up with them from this point out. Where do they come out on?
They're on YouTube at the moment. So
Okay.
they've like because I definitely heard the George Gervin one on Spotify like a couple weeks before they got put on YouTube, but they're all getting put on YouTube now. So
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, especially in this, like everything that we just said about the Ring of the Rouse series and all that kind of stuff, and the potential that it has, getting to sit and talk to any of these players, no matter who they bring on, would be a good listen, I'm sure. I wanted to share this real quick. When I was watching the Spurs and the Golden State game. They had something kind of similar to what you were saying earlier. So this is it says Run TMC Takeover. And this is them interviewing somebody, right? And then this is kind of them like while the game was playing too. Like this is kind of the layout that they kind of had, right, while the game was going, right? Um, and it's Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin, right? And it was like this trio that they played together, like the late '80s into the '90s. And so same thing, like, man, can you imagine? Like Sean is doing his normal job, but they for like a day they have Sean and they get like Avery and they get like Mario Ellie, or if they could get a guy like David Robinson too, like the three of them, just to sit and talk the whole game. Like, who cares if we're losing by 30 at that point, you know?
hmm I will say, just preference this, you gotta hope that they don't talk the way that Tim Hardaway does, because they will. Like, I really doubt that Run TMC thing is gonna be coming back anytime soon. If you
It does.
if you're following the Twitter stuff about
What was he saying?
I can't say what he said, but you know that's the point.
Oh,
Is that,
oh,
like,
oh, oh, oh.
there's something that Tim Hardaway said that like
I think
happened.
I think I know what you're saying, and I think in my head I was like listening to it, and my brain went like, "Did he say this?" And then I just like
Yes.
it kept moving. I'll say. Well, I'll ask you afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah, it blew up on Twitter right after he said it. So just know, you know, they probably won't be doing the Run TMC, or at least if Tim Hardaway's not going to be on there
Sure,
anymore.
but that's
But
a very low bar. If it is what I was thinking, that's a very low bar to cross to be okay with having Avery Johnson and Sean. And
yeah, you just gotta
we'll be
make
alright.
sure that guys that our older fellas aren't going to be talking the way that Tim Hardaway does.
Sean's a
would say?
pro.
Sean's a pro. Sean's a pro. We already know Sean's a pro. But
Yeah, so.
you know, stuff like that, right? Like
And I'm not speaking specifically to the quality of theirs. They did this interview with Klay Thompson that spanned over 2 segments. Like they talked to him and then they went to commercial and they came back, and that thing was long winded, man. Like they were just asking him like random questions because they were just like the three of them back to back to back to back. Well, I got a question for you, and they would go this way. Well, I got a question for you, and it would go this way. And it was just like that part was like, okay, like, from the production standpoint, let's clean this up a little bit. But you know, but on the flip side, they were beating us in a blowout.
Yeah.
So they're probably thinking, well, who cares what we're talking about? We're kicking their butt.
But yeah, and I was watching that side of the broadcast whenever we were watching the games, for the Warriors game and stuff like that. And so it was cool to hear Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond, you know, do their stuff, do the game. Tim Hardaway in spurts and stuff like. It was definitely cool to just hear some older basketball heads talk ball. And then to me, it's always I always love it whenever a basketball head, like an older fan, appreciates the new game, you know, because you can get very grumpy, very stingy with like the way that people can play, and be like, well, they don't play the way that I play,
Yeah.
and so then it's wrong when it's just a different way of playing, so to me it's like I appreciate the fact that like all these old heads in basketball are starting to become, very much in the sense of appreciating the new game,
Mhm.
rather than being like they should go back to the old ways.
They're
So
getting woke.
exactly, we
They're
love to
waking
see
up.
it. But yeah, Chris, as we wrap up, man, is there anything like, on the week that you feel, or anything like that? Any last thoughts about our Spurs?
I mean, from this past week that we just had, I mean, it sucks when you look and you see the 9 out of 10 for sure. But this week specifically, like I think that the thing that was just a little bit more like not I don't even want to say disappointing, but I mean, this was a week where we were playing a lot of teams that were kind of close to us in the standings: Portland and Golden State and Sacramento. Not Portland. I know that their record's better. Sacramento, Golden State, and then just trying to see like how are we going to respond to those teams that are kind of fighting around the same area as us. Are we now going to be living in this 11 to 15 range now for like the next couple months? You know what I'm saying? Is this our new home, for the rest of the year? Like those are the things that I was like trying to like that I kind of felt we were going to learn a lot about ourselves after this week. And so to see us compete the way we did, the turnovers at the end of the game felt kind of disappointing. The Golden State game, even though they were coming off of a second night to back and we had time to rest, we looked very flat at the very beginning of the game. Energy wise, our shots didn't have a lot of legs behind them. So like those parts of the week were pretty disappointing. And I kind of, to answer my own question, I kind of do feel like we are going to be a little bit of living in this area now for a while in terms of the seedings, right? And it felt like we gave the Clippers a little bit of like a get right game. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those games where we allowed things to click for them that probably they'll be able to take into their next game and be like, oh yeah, we kind of turned the corner once we hit that San Antonio game. Like that's what it felt like. They were clicking, and we were not. You know what I mean? Like just all night long. So, and then in terms of moving forward, this week's going to be super fun just because we get a chance to play the Lakers so many times. It's just going to be like it's a fun rivalry. I want to win them. I don't want. And speaking of get right games, I don't want to just give man, our season was in the trash until we got those 3 wins versus San Antonio. Like I don't want to see. I don't need that. I don't need none of that.
Me either. Me either. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think I could lose every single game of the season if it means that we get to win the 3 games against the Lakers. So that's like that's the way that I view things with them. I do not want to lose to the Lakers. I'm excited to see Lonnie Walker come back.
Same.
I have I'm not necessarily like, too I'm not paying attention to Lakers basketball, so I've heard good things about Lonnie Walker, but I've also looked at numbers, and the numbers still tell me that he's the same Lonnie Walker as before. He's just getting more minutes, so
Yeah.
that's like, we'll see what comes up. I'm just excited to see
same.
Lonnie Walker come back.
I think the same way that other people saw Lonnie, like when he was in San Antonio, because I would imagine that generally speaking, more people see Lonnie Walker now, right? Because he's on the Lakers, they see and their exposure and all that. But I think the way that like people saw him last year or in his years in San Antonio is kind of like how we see him now, right? It's like you'll see him because he'll make a good sequence or he'll make a good play, and that will get your attention. And they're great, right? He's still the few times that I have got a chance to see, it's like he's attacking the rim with a lot of speed, and then he's getting good at making good reads and kicking out. And when the Lakers have the few opportunities to be knocking down shots, then those sequences look pretty good. And then I think he's had a couple times to kind of get up and test the rim a little bit. I don't really remember too many. I think I've seen maybe 1 or 2 of his dunks this year, but excited to see him come back to town for sure. I know he's continuing to do some stuff in the community through Thanksgiving with like giving food and giving things, I think, to the to community of San Antonio. So kudos to him for learning a lot of those ways to use his money and use his time. And he's continuing to do that. I know Shaq did that a lot. No matter where he went, he still supported in teams and cities that he was in prior. So I would love it if we get the chance to see Lonnie every single Thanksgiving for the foreseeable future. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be awesome. So
For sure, for sure.
I am looking forward to this week, regardless of how we've been playing. I still have who knows, we might show up to two of these Lakers games where Keldon Johnson's not playing, or you know what I mean. Like all of that is still on the table. It's been like that all year. I know we haven't really talked about it too much, or highlighted it too much, but it's been like that all year. We don't know who's going to show up, depending on how they're running things, right? So I'm excited for the week regardless. I'm on my Thanksgiving break, so I'm gonna enjoy my time watching full games when I can and all that kind of stuff, and it'll be a good week.
For sure, for sure. Uh, Real quick, Juan says that I like that we competed to the end with teams like Memphis, Denver, and Portland to the end of the game, competing with teams at the top of the West. And then to add on to that, patience will wear out. Yeah, patience will wear out the more we give those games away. Though, also we seem to get the right. We seem to be
The
the
get
get
right
right games for most teams offensively. We let everybody go off on us. And yes, I think both of those are true, very very valid statements right there. Just
Yeah,
because
but like what Juan was saying about the ends of the games, it is frustrating. It is frustrating. But like if I just view it in the mindset of like, well, if right now our one of our main lessons is the last 4 minutes of each game or the last 4 minutes of each half, okay, I guess maybe I'm okay with that. Like we're competing for most of the game now. Let's learn how to win, right? Like that's probably the harder of the two.
hmm no, for sure, for sure. Um, I'm very excited to see us through this week. I don't think anything's gonna waver my excitement.
I think your mic went out a little bit. Um, but
Sorry, I think
yeah, it did.
my mic had muted and stuff like that. So I'm very excited to see more Spurs basketball, and it's cool that I'm seeing like Friday Lakers, Saturday Lakers. So it's like back to back games. It's gonna be just 1-2 punch type stuff.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
also we get a chance to see again, kind of like when we played Minnesota, we get to see a little bit of that. Like, how do the Spurs respond specifically to an opponent doing this to you, and that kind of stuff. So, those are something that happen, I think, mainly because of COVID and them trying to limit travel time and all that kind of stuff. And for player fatigue and all that kind of stuff. I think that's why they're starting to do more of these series. I, for one, have been enjoying them since they've done them. Is getting a chance to play the same team 2 or 3 times. I know it feels kind of weird, right? Because it's like, well, the Lakers in November are not what the Lakers are in March, but it's like, well, that's just how it shakes out. As long as I will hate it if they start putting division games like that. We don't need to have divisions decided in 2 months. You know what I mean? Because they played each other 3 times, and I don't think that they will do that. But so yeah, I'm excited for this week. We'll see how it shakes out, and then we do got that New Orleans game, sandwiched in between.
For sure, for sure. Well, all right then, Chris. I think that was the week as a whole, and I think we're very excited to go into the next week. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. We do go live at 10 a.m. On Sundays on all three platforms of Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Uh, you'll be able to catch us live at 10 a.m. And if you can't catch us during our live times, the VODs will be on all three platforms shortly thereafter. Make sure that you do follow us on Twitter at Heroes Half Court, where we pretty much do talk about the Spurs on a near daily basis. We do love to have the talks, and we love to be engaged with the community for as long as Twitter is alive. So we'll keep going with that.
We gained
But,
we gained like 15 or 20 followers in like a span of a week, and it was nothing but bots.
no, man,
Lady bots. I'll leave it at that.
That's that certainly tells you how Twitter's going. Lastly, shout out to my Texas Tech Red Raider football team. We won our sixth game this last night, so I will be going bowling. I'm super blessed, super excited to be doing the job that I'm doing, and it'll be wonderful to see where the job's gonna take me here at the end of December.
Yeah,
But
you just got booked for your whole holiday season.
I got booked for my whole holiday season, but it's cool. I'm just super excited,
Yeah,
super ready to see what's gonna happen.
speaking of holiday season, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving to the week.
Enjoy your time. Enjoy your time with your family, and then watch some Spurs after that, right?
Hmm. Enjoy your
So
time with the family. Enjoy your Cyber Monday, your Black Friday shopping. Be safe out there. Try not to uh,
nice.
try not to get got out there during Black Friday shopping.
Jesus.
But with that being said, everybody, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Hope everybody's blessed. Go Cowboys. Gotta be on the come up again. So, but yeah. With that being said, hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we are out.
Bye bye.
Peace.